Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from IPR with the latest tropical video update. And you can see this is a map of the 1995 hurricane season, and we had a lot of storms that year, 19, but we only had two U.S. hurricane landfalls, Erin and Opal, both in Florida. But the majority of storms stayed out here in the Atlantic and recurved. Now that year was bad, especially for the Caribbean and for Florida, but we had the lack of the dominant ridge like we've seen lately. So we had more storms coming from the Cape Verde region. Now, we go to 2003. We have a lot of storms, 15, 16 of them, but we only had two hurricane landfalls in the United States, Isabel and Claudette. Notice we have a lot of storms out here recurving away because we had a lack of a large. I'm not saying that we didn't have any ridging, but the kind of dominant ridges we've seen the last 2 years we didn't have. Now, in contrast, last year is kind of deceiving because we had a lot of those weak end of the year storms out here, but we did not have a very active season in the eastern Atlantic at all. The only semi-Cape Verde hurricane was Emily and Irene, which didn't even become a tropical storm until it was well out here. So, that tells you something. I'm wondering if when we get these strong ridge years like 2005 and potentially this year, it creates so much dry air and unfavorable conditions that we don't have these waves developing like we did, say, in 95 or 2003. Something to think of. Here's my risk map from April. I'm not changing it. I'm keeping it all the same, so I do at the end of the season. But I've expanded it to show you the entire risk, and you can see so far this year we had Alberto, which was into an area I did not think was high risk, so that's not good. And then we had Beryl, which hit me a second time in a low risk area. Chris was did strike the Turks and Caicos, which I had a high risk, but it was dissipating as it does, so that really doesn't count. Had it continued the way everybody thought it would have, it probably would have hit the high risk areas. I still think this map will work out. I think the islands in Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Florida, Carolina coast, and Texas are most at risk from either storms that come on up and turn or one that slips through. Still have a lot of time in this, what will probably still be an active hurricane season. Not active out there today. You can see what we have. We do have what's left of Invest 91L starting to move into Hispaniola. Now, if this moves a little bit more westerly, it could make it, but at this point in time, I don't give it high hopes. There is a wave out here approaching the southern Windward Islands. This will probably go through them, and this could be a problem down the road. We are in August, as you know, so we get more active. You can see another wave down here. This one's further south. This kind of has to be watched, I think, because a lot of times you'll get these under-the-radar waves. We've had some bad hurricanes, Ivan, Charlie, just to name a few, Emily, that have come from under the radar. You don't really notice these weak waves, and then all of a sudden they're bearing down the islands, and it's all history from there. So you can see a lot of the moisture, though, has increased over the past week or so. Here's Invest 91L, what's left of it. You can see it's trying to flare back up, but it doesn't have anything with it, really. So if it moves a little bit more west, it might be able to develop in the western Caribbean, but at this point I think it's still moving too far north to where it's not going to be able to get going. You see this little doodad on the edge of your screen. That's that incoming tropical wave that needs to be watched. Here's a better look at that. You can see not much with it. It's kind of flat like a pancake, and there's just not a lot of divergence. There's not a lot of unstable air. Things are kind of calm. You don't have a lot of shear, though, and I'll show you that in a second. You do not have a lot of shear, but this wave behind is looking pretty interesting. Again, it's below 10 north, though, so it'll probably have to move up a little bit before it could develop, if at all. Off the southeast coast, I'm still expecting some kind of development here. Models were hinting at it more yesterday and the day before than they are now, but if it does develop, it's probably going to move on out. You can see some thunderstorms there already. Here's the upper low that followed Tropical Storm Chris. We saw it. Keep in mind, 2003, we saw a similar upper level feature move all the way down from the Azores across South Florida and become Hurricane Erica in the Gulf. So you always got to keep an eye on those upper level features, but obviously it's very rare to see one develop. Here's this strong tropical wave over Africa. Now, we had a strong one exit yesterday, and it's still there, but again, they're kind of U-shaped on the ITCZ. But there is no reason, okay, I'm telling you this, there's the wave right there, about to move off, there's another one, there's the one out here. There is no reason with these waves, with all the moisture, you can see plenty of moisture, and with this very low wind shear out ahead of it, that these waves cannot develop. The waters are there. It's August. They are moving off at a good latitude. The shear is low. The moisture is there. If they don't develop, then I don't know what's stopping them. You can see we have had these upper lows, though, that have kind of been creating. I mean, one upper low can kill 3 storms at once, I'm telling you. So those are some problems, but definitely favorable in the eastern Atlantic. Here's the eastern Pacific, which has been unusually quiet for what some call an El Nino year. I still call it kind of neutral, but yeah, I'd be leaning more El Nino than La Nina. Although here towards the central Pacific, you have a system here that might be showing some signs of getting going, so keep an eye on that. Western Pacific has been very active. Not overly active, but we've had storms hitting land, so it seems more active than it is. There is Saomai, and behind it, by the way, there's an upper level feature, and all this convection wouldn't be at all surprised to see something form. You know, a lot of times you'll see a system like Saomai did, and this outflow kind of creates so much divergence and unstable thunderstorms that something always comes out of it. It's just a huge basin out there. But here is Saomai, still a typhoon. This came inland probably about 5 a.m. our time yesterday. This has been over 20, almost 30 hours since it moved inland. And by the way, the intensity is up for debate. Some say it was a 135 to 150 miles an hour. Others say it was 100 to 115. If it's still 75 miles an hour, okay, if it's still 75 miles an hour and has this presentation over those mountains of Mexico, what the hell am I talking about? Over these mountains of China, then I have no doubt that this thing came inland at 140, 50 miles an hour. Sadly, 104 people dead so far in China, even though they evacuated 1.5 million. This storm would have hit 100 years ago. It would have been a lot worse, but it was the worst in 50 years, they say. Bad stuff. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics, and I'll see you next time.